So when it comes to the gut, we want to be detoxifying excess hormones, toxins, pathogens, whatever it is. We want to be detoxifying them from the body. And Cris, how do we do that?
First up, we want to do it through the gut. Super, super important.
And we often have clients say, oh, I don't notice a difference when I eat gluten and dairy and when I don't. So I don't think I have an issue with it. You have to remember, just because you don't physically feel a symptom happening when you're eating it doesn't mean you're not doing damage to your gut lining. These are invisible things that the gluten and dairy is doing because you're in such a chronic state of inflammation already. And these are things that can take up to 72 hours to appear. So it's not like you're eating it and then all of a sudden you're getting a headache. Some people that may happen, but it can actually take up to 72 hours after you ingest something for a food intolerance symptom to pop up.
Today, I'm pretty stoked. We're going to talk about 2 words everybody loves: acne detox. What we're going to do is we're going to dive deep into the root cause of our health challenges, explore natural ways to really get your body to self-heal from the inside out, because that's where it's all about. We are going to uncover the hidden connections between gut health, hormones, liver detox, mindset, skincare. We're going to tell you the critical roles. We're going to let you know how to achieve that clear, healthy skin. We're going to really, this is really great for especially those people battling with that stubborn acne. However, of course, in all Cris fashion, I'm going to add a little twist in today.
She was very excited about this twist, by the way. She's been talking about it. She's been talking about it the whole time we were prepping for the episode. So be excited, because she's excited. And I was actually excited about the name of the episode, the Acne Detox, because I knew it was going to grab a lot of people's attention, especially being in January. Everybody's looking for some type of detoxification after the holiday season, right? They're like, it's January, new year, new me type of attitude. Let's do this.
The gym.
In my clear skin era. And I think it's really important to remind yourselves that it's not like you need to be doing this hardcore like juice detox or, these hardcore different detoxifications. What we're going to talk about today are strategies and practices you can be putting into place every day to help your body naturally detoxify in all of these different pillars: the gut, the detoxification organs, the hormones, the mindset, and the nourishing skincare as well. So we got a lot to cover. So
a lot.
Let's get into it. I'll let you start with the gut, because this is where you get to introduce your fun little twist.
I want to start everybody on a bit of an imaginary ride. So envision your immune system as a grand orchestra, and everything from your digestion to your skin's clarity is the music that it produces. Okay, here's the thing. There's one underappreciated player in the symphony that quietly keeps everything in balance behind the scenes, working to protect our guts and, believe it or not, our skin. And that is SIG-A, so secretory immunoglobulin A.
Spit it out, Cris.
I know, that's a big, long word. And what is that? I will get into that. However, we call it SIG-A because that's fancy talk for us. That's just, that means you know what you're talking about. It totally is.
It's also easier to say.
So SIG-A is never going to take center stage in the conversations about acne and skin health. I powered through a ton of documents and I can't find that. However, Katie and I know it is a pinnacle. We want to always check it out. It's one of the most powerful forces behind your gut's ability to defend, digest, detoxify, right? We all love defend, digest, and detoxify. Those are the 3 happy Ds, giving you the acne detox you've been really waiting for. So today's podcast is going to be dedicated to the core Clear Skin Solution acne pillars. And why? Because these completely influence the body's acne detox. However, we're going to give a spin and we're going to start deepening your education so you can understand the intricacy of what's going on in your body.
Love it. I'm really pumped that we weaved SIG-A into this. Gold star for you today, Cris Brown, for the suggestion, because it's something that we as practitioners, we talk about a lot with our coaching team. We work on a lot with our clients, whether they know that's what we're working on or not. But I rarely ever see it or hear it on social media. So I thought this was a really great weave. And I actually want to do some posts on it as well, because it's like it's second nature to us, but it's never talked about. So I'm glad that we're kind of digging into that today. So let's kind of start with our first pillar, Cris Brown. That is, of course, gut health. Now, we're going to take a bit of different route from the detoxification, because I'm sure you're thinking, okay, well, what supplements can I take to detox my gut and my liver and my hormones? We're taking it from a lifestyle perspective and a body function perspective.
Yes.
So when it comes to the gut, we want to be detoxifying excess hormones, toxins, pathogens, whatever it is. We want to be detoxifying them from the body. And Cris, how do we do that?
Well, I want to say first up, we want to do it through the gut. Super, super important.
When we're looking at the detoxification, of course, that end result is going to be your colon. Your colon is a part of your detoxification system because it's physically excreting your stool out of the body. But we need to look a little bit upstream to see, okay, well, how do we get really good bowel movements at the very top?
And if you're not bloated or you don't look 6 months pregnant and not pregnant, a lot of people cannot see the inner layer. So they don't understand what's going on in the lower GI. So let's bring back SIG-A for a second, because of course it's a key player in the gut health, particularly in connection to skin clarity. Now everyone's like, okay, keep talking, Cris. I'm on it. I want to know more about that SIG-A, right? So it's a type of antibody produced in the mucous membranes, especially in the gut, and it serves as a first immune defense, which we love. You know, when you're sick, SIG-A could be called to action. It plays crucial roles in protecting the gut lining from harmful pathogens, toxins, food particles. All of these, what they're going to do is they're going to trigger out an inflammatory response. And then we start to build that compounding host of all these things we call symptoms. So when SIG-A levels are not optimal, and if they're acting as a protective barrier, really wanting to keep that lower GI in balance, we don't want them in the bloodstream. This is, autoimmunes very much come in the same kind of pathway, right? So why we need the protection? Because it helps maintain a healthy gut lining. We want to reduce the inflammation. Why? Because acne is 100% connected to some kind of stressor in the inflammation and the signs and symptoms. We know you want to improve your skin health. So SIG-A levels, say they're low or depleted, that gut barrier weakens. Then that's going to lead to that fancy word called leaky gut. And when larger, if we get undigested food particles, toxins, they escape into the bloodstream. Those food particles will go into the bloodstream. And these foreign particles, they're going to trigger a widespread inflammatory reaction. It's not just going to affect the gut, also contributes to inflammation and acne. So all the way from doing what? The compounding residual of what we can prevent and free. There's free things we can do. So we want to look at the chronic stress, poor diet. And why we say poor diet is anything that could be triggering from that acne perspective. Of course, if it's a standard North American diet, do we love it? No, because we know all those things are going to trigger. Long-term gut dysbiosis, how long have you had this, right? It's going to impact, say, food intolerances. Those are all going to place stress on the immune system. And that's going to further deplete the body's ability to maintain and protect the barrier. Then how the heck do we get that acne detox if we have all this catastrophic chaos?
It's a whole bunch of chaos. And
it's a whole bunch of chaos.
The thing with SIG-A is it's such a powerful thing in our gut defense, but it also plays a really big role in maintaining our microbiome. And if our microbiome is out of whack, it's going to be creating more inflammation. It's going to be leading to more skin issues and a bunch of whole GI issues as well. But another thing it does is it actually protects us against our exposure to food derived antigens as well.
So before we even get to the lower GI, we need to look at the upper GI. We need to look past that. We need to look at the full digestive canal from mouth to anus, because people with acne struggle with impaired digestion. And this is going to be anything connected, say, with low stomach acid, enzyme deficiencies, food intolerances. Often food intolerances, how many have we seen? I don't even know how many, hundreds. So these digestive problems, they are not going to help us break down the foods, and that's going to irritate the gut. It's going to disrupt SIG-A, and this is way above the GI system. Katie, do you want to talk a little bit about low stomach acid? Because I think it's a key player in this.
Yeah, remember when you want your colon to, step up and really help in that detoxification, we need to be physically getting the stool out of the body. And like we said at the beginning, when you look way upstream, you need to start with digestion when it comes to having healthy bowel movements, as Cris and I talk about all the time. Of course, the first thing is going to be making sure you're chewing your food really well to a paste-like consistency. So that way, when you swallow, your stomach isn't having to break down chunks of steak and chicken or whatever you're eating. And when we're looking at low stomach acid, which is such a big issue for so many acne sufferers, there's a multitude of issues that arise. Is one, the stomach acid is actually helping to keep the bad bacteria and yeast at bay. So when it's low, it allows for an overgrowth or dysbiosis to happen in your gut. It also allows the food to sit there, putrefy, and ferment for too long, which then it becomes a perfect little Mandarin buffet for these opportunistic yeast and bacteria that are already overgrowing. So it's like pouring fuel on the bad microbiome fire. And then it's also ineffective at breaking your food down. And if we're not breaking our food down, we're not absorbing any of the nutrients that we're eating. So we're not getting all of those vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients that our body systems and organs need to function and also repair our skin. And we're not able to break it down and pass it through the digestive system properly. So we can end up with things like chronic constipation, where now the stool is sitting too long in our digestive tract. It's not being detoxified efficiently and effectively enough. So all of the toxins and, bacteria and excess hormones like your estrogens that your body's trying to excrete through your stool, they start to reabsorb into your bloodstream. They go back to your liver. And so now we're overwhelming our liver, which is our main organ for detoxification. And we're creating systemic or body-wide inflammation and higher toxicity, all because our digestion is off.
And that's the word putrefaction is a really nice way of saying rotting. If you cannot break down that protein, it will rot in your lower intestinal cavity. And that just creates not only a hide and seek for pathogens. The longer that fecal matter touches the intestinal cavity, the more inflammation we have and the more systemic like behaviors you have in your lower GI. And we love hydrochloric acid in the right levels. Too much, we're going to get ulcers. Not enough. Not only can we get that bacteria, but we can get a very stubborn infection. And I almost call it like virus-like just never wants to die. And that's H. pylori.
Ooh, H. pylori is a fun one, isn't it?
Sure is.
It needs its whole episode, actually.
Right? And I just want to bring that up because I see these time and time again as connectors with acne. And you can go and get your blood labs and you can go and get all the fancy testing from Western. And I've also seen false negatives 3 or 4 times in blood labs. Someone's gotten a stool, a GI map, and Katie, it's come back like glaring. Remember, infections and bacteria, they can hide. So not only when you get these tests through blood, if they're not circulating or they're not active, such as H. pylori, it's not going to come up. So hydrochloric acid is key and it's way up. So not only are we chewing our food to a paste-like consistency, so you have to chew for the poo. That's not even like a pun. And then you have to have that strong stomach acid because we can't be reliant on the pancreas just to be whipping out some other enzymes and the gallbladder to be secreting bile. And you know what I love about hydrochloric acid is acne. Yeah, Avi. Okay, is because the number one mineral that acne sufferers we see come in taking is zinc.
Number one.
You need hydrochloric acid.
To break it down.
The other one that we see very deficient, high or low, magnesium, hydrochloric acid. And B vitamins. So people are taking B vitamins. Your liver loves B vitamins. It helps the mitochondria. It helps for the detoxification, helps that acne detox. However, guess what? Your beneficial bacteria can make B vitamins. So we already know that higher upper level of acidity needs to be there in order for all these acne supporting nutrients to do what? Detox the skin.
So obviously the gut's going to be a little bit lengthier of a portion of the episode just because it has so many moving parts. Because then we need to kind of discuss, well, let's talk about food intolerances. How is that impacting SIGA and detoxification and skin? Well, we know that for the clients that we work with, the biggest food intolerances that we see is going to be gluten, dairy, and they're going to be having issues with processed foods as well, right? But gluten and dairy are really big food intolerance and triggers because what's happening here is these are irritating the gut lining. it's causing an immune response that's going to be depleting the SIG-A levels. So when you're constantly consuming foods that your body is intolerant to, you really create the chronic inflammation in the gut, which is going to impair our digestion and promote leaky gut. And we often have clients say, oh, I don't notice a difference when I eat gluten and dairy and when I don't. So I don't think I have an issue with it. You have to remember, just because you don't physically feel a symptom happening when you're eating it doesn't mean you're not doing damage to your gut lining, in response, giving that immune response and depleting your SIG-A. These are invisible things that the gluten and dairy is doing because you're in such a chronic state of inflammation already.
Yeah, it's brutal. It really is a cascade. And with regards, just quickly, of that gluten intolerances, take it out. And then people are like, I didn't notice a difference for 4 months and I put it back in. You will notice a difference. It might not be the only trigger, right? And you're going to get small amount of gain. Most acne sufferers don't like small amount of gain. Give it to me now. I'd like my skin cleared in 3 weeks. I'm going to the Bahamas. So make it happen. And how do I know this? Thousands of files. This is how I can be very confident when I say stuff like this.
Can I also add something in about especially the gluten and dairy? Because I know a lot of people, they don't want to accept that it's causing damage to their guts. So they almost make excuses and they look past because they're biased to the situation. Or I often hear other people saying, oh, well, I take the enzymes that break the gluten and the lactose down, so I'm fine. Cris, do you want to break that myth real quick?
Well, I love that you're using something to enhance it. However, it can break it down, but it doesn't mean it can be digested. And again, if you didn't have all of the upper GI supports, are you any better off, right? If it's a trigger, it's creating inflammation. Essentially going into the gut is lowering the inflammatory triggers. And we do this. And when we say gut, I mean, it doesn't even do it justice. When Katie and I say gut, we mean from mouth really down to anus.
The whole digestive system.
Of course, we have, intricate parts, upper and lower, and these types of things. However, dairy and gluten, it doesn't mean that you might not be able to bring them back in later. For some people, we've seen many, many people never, because they have the high casein, they have the high gliadin, like these types of proteins that they can't.
And let's just clarify, the casein is a protein in dairy and the gliadin is the protein in the wheat. And the gluten in the wheat.
So think about proteins, and which is your stomach acid breakdown. Proteins. And because your body, even though you're breaking these enzymes, because you're taking the enzymes and you're breaking them down, it goes in, you might have already created that autoimmune-like response to this food intolerance, and it's still going to pick it up. So this is why removing it. We really want you to do well. And intolerances are often silent. That's the big one. And I love that you kind of nailed that, right? That, how it's so silent? It's not really silent. You know what it shows? Fatigue, acne. It shows energy woes.
Headaches.
Headaches, dairy, and headaches and migraines, dairy. I'm coming after you.
Brain fog.
I'm definitely going to gluten.
Joint pain.
Oh, all of the above.
And these are things that can take up to 72 hours to appear. So it's not like you're eating it and then all of a sudden you're getting a headache. Some people that may happen, but it can actually take up to 72 hours after you ingest something for a food intolerant symptom to pop up.
And the longer we do this, that pathogenic bacteria and the yeast, so, that lovely candidiasis, or, what we call like yeast infections, or even overgrowth of the yeast into the UTIs, those byproducts of all those toxins it releases, it's going to create even more of a cascade of symptoms for you. And what do you think it's going to do to the acne? Surely not improve it, right? The other little nugget just before we move on is digestion, if it's impaired, is definitely going to prevent the breakdown of fats. That's going to lead to, now we might have a protein deficiency, we might have enzymatic deficiencies, so getting all the other things broken down like carbohydrates. And now if we have an essential fatty acid like our omega-3s, which are supposed to be anti-inflammatory, and we love them, and we know we need that for creating that moist skin barrier, the health of our skin, our hair, everything. Then remember, hormones are fat-based. So this is why we don't hit up, say, those sex hormones, or we don't hit up specific hormones right away. We have to go to digestion because it's just too much of a pinnacle in order to go, oh, yeah, we'll get that later, right? It's kind of like cleaning up the house.
So now that we've kind of went pretty hard on gut. Let's go into some strategies to help, really support the gut for the acne detox. And then let's move into detoxification specifically. So really when it comes to, enhancing our digestion, regulating those food intolerances, restoring SIG-A levels, we have to look at these strategies that are really big for the acne detox. And it's going to be improving stomach acid, eliminating food triggers, and reducing stress. So if we dig into each of those, we can be improving our stomach acids by chewing for the poo. So chewing to a paste-like consistency, avoiding drinking liquids with your meals. So kind of avoid on a 30-minute window either side. If you need a small sip of water to like clear it or take a supplement, obviously that's fine. And then you want to be taking the right supplements to support digestion. And it's, again, supplements is going to be different for everybody. So just know that whether it's enzymes, it's bitters, it's hydrochloric acid, you need to be working with a practitioner that knows what those imbalances are. So you're taking the proper things and you're not wasting your money or doing damage. Then Cris, let's go into eliminating trigger foods. You do that one.
So food intolerances, I'm going to go a little bit extended here: gluten, dairy, soy, and corn. So, people call it an elimination diet. We don't love that. We love to just, when you come into the Clear Skin Solution, we're piling foods in. We're not trying to rip them out, right? So food sensitivities, we have to try and pinpoint things. I'm one of those coaches where I truly love people to go through and feel the transition. Well, some people are like, just give me a supplement. I'm like, no, I won't. Why? Because once you feel it, then you can feel the improvements, and that brings up sustainability. So if somebody has food sensitivities or really gas, bloat and everything, FODMAPs, perhaps, where, they're taking out specific carbohydrates, that is grueling. I mean, we rarely ever do that unless it's like dire straits.
Right. Like whether it's issues with FODMAPs, they have a histamine intolerance.
Yeah.
These need to be used in the right situation because if, you don't have histamine intolerance and you don't have issues with FODMAPs, it's not a really fun protocol to go through.
People who have been suffering and they're not sure, they can run a food sensitivity test. I'm like, give me the info.
Yeah, our clients will run them for those that have those like lingering symptoms, or they really want to be identifying like what's happening. You can absolutely be running an IgG food sensitivity test.
And then the big one too is reducing stress, right?
Oh my goodness. You guys, we talk about this all the time. I think we all know this. It's like tattooed on our heads, reduce your stress. But it is critical for protecting your SIG-A, because chronic stress depletes your SIG-A levels, which is leading to the gut lining becoming vulnerable for inflammation, bacterial imbalances. So we need to be incorporating stress reduction techniques, everybody. And it's going to be different for Cris, for me. You need to find something that works for you, whether it's deep breathing, it's tapping, meditation, grounding, getting out in nature, petting a dog, dancing, yoga. I don't care what it is.
Even sleep. Sleep is huge for stress. Like, please establish a bedtime hygiene routine. I'm not kidding. You'll save yourself thousands of dollars in like talk therapy.
Sleep can have such a profound impact on reducing your stress. And guess what? It's free to do. We got to do it. Love it. All right.
So tell me about the liver.
Well, I like to say detox organs. You want to know what? As we've been doing this whole acne thing for quite some time now, when I originally started, I originally years and years ago just focused on the liver, but I quickly came to realize that it's about our detoxification organs as a whole, right?
Yep.
Especially our liver, our kidneys, our lymphatic system, and our colon. Our other two detoxification organs, of course, are going to be our skin and our lungs. But for our acne sufferers, we're really focusing on our liver, kidneys, lymph, and colon because they all play a role. So our liver is our main organ for detoxification, does hundreds of jobs in the body, a few of them being filtering toxins and filtering hormones. So if it's sluggish, it's not going to be able to do its job effectively. So then it's going to be like, hey, skin, I got a backlog. I'm going to have to send it to you. You're our biggest organ for detoxification. So it pushes it out into the pores, which irritates, inflames, and leads to breakouts. And then we have to look at our kidneys. They're also playing a key role in filtration of hormones. And then our lymphatic system is our body's, little waste disposal system. It's a little garbage truck, trucking around our body, and it's cleaning up the excess toxins and bacteria that aren't supposed to be there, and is help flushing them from the system as well. And as we already talked about, our colon helps excrete stool or poop from our system as well. So that's why we need to be loving up these different areas in order to really be encouraging that acne detox. And we can be looking at this, I really like to call it daily detoxification, because it doesn't just have to be, I'm going to go and buy this detox kit. It's January, I'm buying a detox kit. Please don't do that. If you like, please don't buy the detox kit. Step away from the Amazon cart. Here's the thing is, do we do detoxifications with our clients? Absolutely. But you can't skip to this, because if your colon isn't open, if these detoxification pathways aren't open, you're going to make things so much worse. Your skin's going to flare horrendously. All of your symptoms are going to flare. You're going to just compound all of the things going on. So you need to make sure that you've properly opened up your detox pathways, your digestion, all of these things to be doing it properly. So this is why we would never recommend you jump straight to a detox, or you're like, oh, it's, January, I'm going to do a juice cleanse or whatever it may be. So when we're looking at the liver, right, it's basically our body's filtration system. It's breaking down, it's eliminating toxins, our excess hormones, and waste products from the blood as well. So it also processes medications, which a lot of acne sufferers are taking, like Accutane, the birth control pill. I'm going to stop there so I don't go on my soapbox and start preaching.
They're very common though.
Remember when we did, I did that 3-day boot camp back in September, and I actually had somebody say, oh my gosh, I learned today that my liver does more things than just processes alcohol. She's like, I literally thought that's what his only job was, to process alcohol. But it's because it's the only thing that we're taught that the liver does. It just processes alcohol, but it also processes chemicals. So pesticides in our food, chemicals in our food, because the liver wants to make sure these don't accumulate and cause damage. So when our liver is sluggish, its ability to effectively and efficiently detoxify slows down, leading to an overflow of toxins. It's almost like if you're working on a conveyor belt, and all of a sudden the conveyor belt, like, it jams, and then things start packing up and things are flying off the conveyor belt and steam's coming up. That's essentially what's happening in your liver when it isn't able to do its job, because now we're leading to higher toxicity in the body. We're leading to hormonal imbalances. We're leading to increased inflammation, which is going to be manifesting as breakouts on our skin.
The acne detox and hormones. We have to be careful, because if I don't hear it once, or almost out of 9 out of 10 clients, what do we know about that? Everybody says, it's my sex hormones, it's my estrogen, it's my testosterone. I think I'm PCOS because I'm losing a little bit of hair, or I'm growing hair in places I don't want. So when the gut and the liver, which we've just extensively gone over, when they're not functionally optimally, what happens is the body can't naturally detox and balance your sex hormones, or really balance hormones. So the liver processes excess hormones, just like those androgens that we're well aware of, because that's going to increase that oil production and trigger acne. And that's true. That can happen. Sometimes really excessive estrogen can also do the same. However, it's not accompanied by nothing, meaning it's something further up the chain. So while the gut eliminates these hormones through, say, proper digestion and waste excretion, we need these. So again, back to that gut, right? And we have so many podcasts where we have nailed this and nailed this and nailed this. So you have all the information. So when these systems are not working efficiently, hormones like your estrogen, like your testosterone, they got to get cleared from that body. And then what happens, it's going to create a hormone imbalance. And then bam, we have a cascade of acne again. So is it essentially the liver has to process? If we have poor cholesterol, if we have elevated HDL, you better believe that you are not likely emulsifying your fats. You are probably going to be vitamin D deficient. And your sex hormones, wah, wah. So really watch, because it's great to collect information. So your symptoms are information. That's what you bring to your practitioner. It's fantastic. If we want to specifically go into like androgens, talking about like testosterone, we know that's going to increase that sebum production. That can clog the pores and, of course, cause that cascade of acne. I will tell you, if I had a quiz for every client, they would nail that answer. They know it.
We instill it. We drill it into their heads.
They know that, right? Because they've come in and they're like, I have this, I think I have PCOS, and all of these wonderful things. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me more. When we go to balance hormones naturally, essentially, doesn't matter if it's estrogen, doesn't matter if it's progesterone. It doesn't matter if it's any of these, because we need to manage the insulin levels. We need to look at how we're going to be consuming our sugars. And what I mean by using is your sugar is processed in your liver. It's converted in your liver. Your macronutrients, same kind of thing. That's your metabolic powerhouse. So a balanced diet, of course, is going to help prevent those hormone spikes and acne triggers. Can you imagine eating anti-inflammatory? And for the people who are like, I do that and I still have hormone balances. Yes, because again, the gut, the liver, the hormones, it's all connected. When we're talking about the diet, we can align the diet, we can align exercise, right? And we can even align it with the menstrual cycles. If you truly feel this is totally sex hormone based, then start going in and lining up, because there's specific exercises and foods that you want to eat around your menses. That's going to support it. If that doesn't help, again, probably not. But this is going to be another exhausted attempt at something. So when we use anything to regulate our hormones, expect that it is acting for us. So how does it still, if you are on birth control, you still need to be able to detoxify that extra estrogen that is likely in there.
So do we want to go into some foods that help with detoxification? Because we're big on food-based detoxification, right?
I love, foods that help. I'm definitely I kind of classify it. I like to say liver-loving foods and liver-hating foods. And I don't like the word hate. It's not so much in the detox. We love cruciferous vegetables. We love them. So broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, they are sulfur containing compounds. And that's the big take home. So that's part of that detoxification. If you are getting gas and bloat when you eat them, likely your sulfur pathways are not optimal. And please do not go buy that detox kit because it's on sale January 1st. So we need enzymes to help the liver break down toxins, including the excess hormones. And that's obviously, so if we can get into foods, if it's causing bloat, don't eat it raw. Eat it baked, eat it steamed, try different ways. We know leafy greens, like all of those, like arugula, spinach, they're packed with chlorophyll. It neutralizes heavy metals, chemicals, pesticides. So those are extra things we don't think about.
Can I add one in that has chlorophyll and that's green that helps support detoxification?
Since it's on topic.
Yes. Matcha.
Anyways, long story short is we like leafy greens because not only is it going to be beneficial for the elimination, for possibly feeding, depends on the cellulose, and the hemicellulose, just really creating a nice immune supporting environment. So beets are high in betaine, which is part of that hydrochloric acid synthesis. And that's going to support that liver. It's going to support the proteins, reduce inflammation. The extra key nugget, it improves bile flow. So if we're struggling with, really making great quality bile because our liver is sluggish and we can't emulsify our fats, and I just told you all the issues as to why we need to break down our fats, then what happens? Then we're not going to have sexy hormones. If they make you constipated, really go back and see where your bile flow is. Nobody would think beets and bile flow, would they? Processed foods, refined, trans fats, artificial additives, right? Fried foods, again, because of those trans fats, but I'm specifically breaking out fried foods because not too many people put those under trans fats. That's inclusive of margarine. I don't care what the dietitian says. Okay, excess alcohol, excess caffeine. See how creative I used with the excess in front of those two? And high fructose corn syrup. This is a hidden little, this is the demise. Why is this
ingredient still around? I gotta know, why is high fructose, it's obviously, we know it's cheap and companies make more money that way, but it should be banned.
I just want to give everybody a little key. Most shelf honeys, this is the number one ingredient.
And hormones, they're very lifestyle based as well. We can be helping ensure that we have proper hormonal balance. Obviously good bowel movements is going to be excreted, good bowel movements, hydration to be supporting our kidneys. This is all going to be flushing the excess hormones out. But we also have to be aware of the lifestyle habits and also the chemicals in our products. So I want to talk about the chemicals in our products in skincare because it kind of goes there. But just remember that you can be supporting your hormones through quality sleep, through stress reduction, through not skipping meals, through having protein, fiber, and fats, and through having good bowel movements. These are all ways that you're supporting your hormones every single day in basically free ways.
I want everybody to celebrate their unicorns. So when you sit on that toilet, I'm not kidding, and you get up, I had one today. I was going to text you. I just felt like it was because I have Hashimoto's. I don't get very many unicorns. Sometimes there's a little bit of Pegasus with broken wings. That's a win. If it's something like that where you're like, oh my gosh, that was great. If you're only wiping up to like 3 times in your bowel movement, that's a win. If you sat and you didn't touch your electronics while eating, that's a win. These are all acne detox processes.
Something we also need to be detoxifying from our body is negative self-talk and stored emotional traumas and crappy mindset. These are all things that we need to detoxify from the body in order to support not just our skin, but our health as a whole. Because this was another really big thing that, I didn't talk about a lot when I first started doing this years ago. But as we started working with a lot of clients, we realized that the emotional baggage that we all carry has such a profound impact on our well-being. And if, none of us really go through life getting, away scot-free. We have these emotional traumas and baggage. And now just in the last few years, it's really been more talked about that these emotional traumas are actually stored in our body. Our body stores it there. And if we don't work through it, process it, release it, it's going to be leading to dis-ease in the body. And it's going to manifest differently for everybody. So, whether it's impacting your gut and your liver and your inflammation, your toxicity, whatever it may be, in some cases, it could be manifesting as acne. And for others, it may be manifesting differently. So really making sure we're working through those emotional traumas with a professional, also detoxifying our mindset and negative self-talk, because acne sufferers are so horrible to themselves. We are all so mean to ourselves. So when you catch yourself bullying yourself, I want you to stop and say, would I speak like that to a child, to my student, to my son, to my niece, to a young person? Like, would you speak like that to your best friend? No. Then why are you speaking like that to yourself? So learning to catch yourself and start reframing and really working on your mindset is going to be critical, because mindset is such an important part because we even have a mindset coach and mindset portion of the Clear Skin solution, because it's so important. So really watching yourself and getting rid of that in your day, because that's also going to be helping to improve your overall health.
Yeah, totally understated and underestimated.
Extremely.
And everybody looks at the acne. This is your daily focus. You get up, boom, you look at it, right? If you pop them, you do whatever it is, but you leave. However, when you leave that bathroom, how do you feel? I want you to really start connecting how you feel once you leave the bathroom in the morning. How did you wake up? Was it a pretty good? And then you went in, I got more acne. What? Why are they moving? Why are they shifting? What's going on? Can we really present it as, thank you for providing me information so that I can share with my coach, so that I can work with my team, so that I can better understand what's going on the internal, right? That's the big one. I work a lot on that one, as you know, right?
As I know, mindset's a big one all the time. So the last one is everyone's favorite, skincare. This is how we need to be detoxifying our skincare, because the last of the 5 acne clearing pillars is nourishing skincare. This is how we need to be detoxifying our skincare, because the last of the 5 acne clearing pillars is nourishing skincare. So there's a couple facets here. Is one, we need to be detoxifying the toxic and harmful ingredients from our skincare. These are the parabens, the phthalates, the fragrances, all of these ingredients that are toxic to the body. They become endocrine disruptors, meaning they mimic hormones in the body and they impact our hormones. So this is another way we're going to be supporting our hormones, is detoxifying these ingredients. And we have a blog and a podcast, I'm pretty sure, on it. So I'll link that in the show notes so you can go more in depth to those specific ingredients as well, because this is where you really need to become your own skincare detective. You need to be, whether you're buying online, make sure you can read the ingredients, flip the bottle over, and you can be utilizing things like the Think Dirty app, the EWG Skin Deep database, to be looking at the toxicity of the products you're slathering onto your skin. And just a caveat is sometimes when you put your products into this, it'll score high because there's like a lemon essential oil in there. Remember, this is where, again, you have to dig in a little bit deeper, because in the ratio that it's in the product, it's not going to be irritating. Usually like these essential oils or these natural ingredients that are scoring higher, it's because they can cause skin irritation in higher amounts. But the blends that they're in with the other ingredients that help offset that, you have to kind of take it as like a grain of salt. So just kind of take it that way. Then after we're detoxifying all of the garbage from our products, this is where we want to be looking at how do we set up that nourishing routine? How do we detoxify those harsh, dry ingredients, the benzoyl peroxides, the alcohols, all of these things that are disrupting the skin barrier, wrecking it, and causing our skin to be inflamed and sensitized, where we're becoming reactive to the products that we're using. This is why we need to be loving up the skin barrier. And it's such a critical part that our esthetician works on with our clients in the Clear Skin Solution. So we want to be making sure that we're using a gentle cleanser that isn't stripping our skin's natural oils. If you do have active breakouts, we don't want to be over exfoliating with the physical exfoliants that have like the scrubbies in it. So if we're not using the physical exfoliants, we want to be opting for a chemical exfoliant like an AHA or BHA using those fruit enzymes. One product we really love that our esthetician recommends a lot to our clients is 3 Ships the Superfruit. It's an exfoliating enzyme mask. I'll put the link in the show notes to that as well, because we want to be doing this 1-2 times a week. Don't overdo it, because again, we don't want to be overusing it. And then we want to be making sure we're keeping our skin hydrated and moisturized. So, whether you want to be using a lightweight moisturizer, you want to be using a cold pressed oil like a jojoba, a rose hip, these can all be really nourishing, because we want to remember that if we are skipping our hydration, our skin is going to start to dehydrate, which is going to signal for the skin to overproduce sebum, which is that sticky, oily substance that clogs the pores. So just make sure that, we're looking for ingredients that have things like ceramides, niacinamide, aloe vera, green tea extract, so many nourishing ingredients that we can be utilizing to be repairing the skin barrier. Probiotics, which is why Cris loves the symbiome, because we have the fermentation in there to repairing the skin's microbiome and the good bacteria on our skin as well.
So essentially, we want to connect the entire body system, and we want to look at the low-hanging fruit. And that's why we always talk about certain foods and give you show notes so that you can continue to educate yourself, because the Acne Detox is 100% a combination of all of the pillars. In fact, that's why the pillars were created, and in the right order, so that you can see the importance of when you improve one, how it takes the burden off the next, and how your body might even self-repair, and you don't need to really go in and rock down the sex hormones, right? Because you did a great job of balancing your blood sugar, did a great job of enhancing your food palette and your minerals, and you've done a great job at overall that big, long digestive tube. So that is a big, big money maker. And I wish that I could rewrite the education system, and I would give people 10 points to teach their kids from kindergarten. And do you know how we would live come like a decade from now? Just by teaching this, it just drives me.
Isn't it
insane?
We have grown women that are in their 30s and 40s. They're like, I didn't know about my own body until I was this years old. I am 42 and I'm now just learning how my digestive system works, just learning what a healthy bowel movement looks like, just learning about my own menstrual cycle. It's such a gap in the education that we receive, and I really hope that it starts to change. Until then, you have us here on the Clear Skin Chronicles.
And our teachers and our nurses, right? How many times do they say, I never learned any of this?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
so we work with a lot of nurses and teachers. It's the top 2 professions we work with.
Right. And they implement some of it with their kids at school, and they're like, oh my gosh. And then they take their nursing and do a little bit of that mindset and what they learned. And they're like, oh my gosh. Right. So it's multifaceted. So even though you're working on your acne, when you get in here and you start to change these lifestyle factors, guess what you do? You regift information.
It's the ripple effect. And I loved where last year I was chatting with one of our clients, Christy, who's so lovely and sweet. And she's a nurse, and she shared with me, she's like, I get so excited now that I feel so much better. This has changed my life. Mm-hmm. So now as a nurse, I'm teaching gut health to my own patients so they can feel better. She's like, because this is something that we were never taught. So I love just the ripple effect that being empowered in your own health and the education and having the right tools and resources can have on so many people's lives.
I love it. This is why we do what we do.
All right. Another episode of the Clear Skin Chronicles, everybody. As always, check the show notes because there's a ton of resources in there. And if you've been listening, you're like, oh my gosh, this is way more complex than I ever thought acne could be, and I need help. We are always here in the Clear Skin Solution to lend a helping hand. And if you want to learn more about working with us and apply, also check the show notes as well. And we'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Clear Skin Chronicles.